Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've not done it already, please click the subscribe button and follow me across all my social media platforms. Links are in the description box below. Listen, I'm so happy for IFL TV to do this interview for an hour long as well, and I'm like, I haven't seen AJ do talk as long as this for a really long time. So credit to Coogan, credit to the guys at IFL TV. These guys do bits, man. These guys are like the bloody Drake of the YouTube interviewing scene as well. But big up October where she's coming through as well. Also as well, I'm going to be talking about this interview and the contents of this interview in greater detail and discussing this tomorrow show, the Fighting Talk show, Wednesday at 9 p.m. UK time. Okay, tune in because it's going to be a bad guy. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's go.
This is Coogan Cassius for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's a wonderful evening here in Watford. I'm joined by Mr. Anthony Joshua. How are you, mate?
All good, mate. Thanks for coming back. The last time you was in Watford was 2011. So, what's that, 11 years on?
Oh, your maths ain't great, 10 years on.
Is it 10 years on? Yeah. Oh, yeah, because we're not in 22 yet. So I'm already thinking ahead. So I'm looking as like 2022, but 10, 11 years on. Welcome back. How'd you find it?
Well, it was funny because I went, where shall I meet you? And you just went, just meet me on the estate. And I'm like, I'm not from Watford, so I don't know where to go. And you went, just go to the shops. I was like, I don't know where that is.
I think because everyone from Watford knows the shops, there's just like one set of shops on the estate where everyone meets up. So I was like, just go to the shops. But yeah, we come and met you, we drove you down. And I was down there anyway. I was at my cousin's house. Then I was at my mate's house and went to see him. So it was nice to kind of do an interview where it's not staged, it's not set up. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not in some like GQ setup or some Vogue setup. It's just me and you chilling again on the estate. So welcome back.
Because obviously some of the interviews we do Fight Week, and Fight Week interviews are never great because obviously you've got to do, for a start, you've got to do a load of them. Yeah. And they're always kind of short, and I think with you, I always get the most out of you when we can actually sit down like this.
Yeah, because as you know, like we understand the benefits of promoting boxing to the mass market. It benefits everyone. It probably benefits you as well. The more eyes on boxing, the bigger the fights, the bigger media, the more commercial, the better for everyone. So on Fight Week, when I've done how many interviews during training camp, how many interviews before training camp, like, you know, selling products, selling commercial space. It's the last thing I want to do now is another commercial. But I don't see you as someone that I work with, but every time I see you, you've got a camera in my face with a microphone in my mouth. Pause. So
with consent.
With consent, yeah. And so it's like I'm speaking to you, but I'm not speaking to you. So is it work? Is it not work? But this time around, for me, it was what I noticed is that I have people that speak for me. And they do it from a good place. Like, people may ask you, Coogan, what's happening? How's he feeling? And you could probably reference something that may not be true or may be true, but people will tend to believe you because we've got a one-on-one connection.
Eddie Hearn in particular.
I felt like after a while, it's my duty. If no one's going to do it for me, that's actually in my training camp, that knows the ins and outs. We always paint a pretty picture. It's like Instagram. I'm going to show you my highlight reel, but in reality, life is shit. Life is hard. It's a grind. But I'm going to show you, you know, me walking out of a luxury shower into the beach, you know, to a luxury dinner in a shirt, and then back to the penthouse. But in reality, it ain't like that. We've got 9 to 5 jobs every day that we've got to do before we get to that point. So I felt like it's important for people to either represent me in my training camp where they see the grind and what type of person I am, how diligent I am, motivated I am, but where that's not happening, like Eddie speaks for me as well.
For a bit of context, I heard people, like, I'm not going to mention any names, but I heard people saying that AJ doesn't apply himself in training, he comes late to training, he doesn't listen to his coaches, he doesn't like he just does as he pleases. And then you also hear Eddie saying things like, what's it called? Oh, he's sulking at the moment, and you know he didn't put in 100% for the camp, etc. Just for a bit of context, but we move.
But he's not in my camp, so sometimes when he says things, I'm like, he doesn't have the full 101 on certain things that I'm going through. He says it from his point of view, but his point of view is good, but it's not the everyday things that I'm living and going through. So I thought, let me kind of speak to the people and catch up with yourself, because you're the closest thing to the people, and me and you have a one-on-one conversation.
Just kind of touching on what you're saying there, our port of call, and I'm not saying you've made yourself unobtainable over the years, but there was kind of a change from a media perspective, I reckon, after the Dillian Whyte fight a few years ago, where you have been a little bit more difficult to kind of not get hold of, because we speak anyway, like we speak away from the cameras, we do speak, but you have become a little bit unobtainable. So our port of call is someone like Eddie Hearn, to ask him what his thoughts are. Now, it's not a case of Eddie just coming out and saying blah, 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 blah. It's a case of sometimes us saying to him, well, what did Joshua think about that? Or what did Joshua say? So that's our port of call as media, to get your thoughts sometimes.
And he's going to give it to you from his point of view. He might have spoke to me last week, and, you know, I'm forever changing like everyone. My
Let's carry on.
view today, I can completely change my opinion on something tomorrow, because I've spoken to someone who's opened my eyes to something. Do you know what I mean? So when you speak to someone, it's like Chinese whispers. It always gets lost in translation. So I thought it's important for me to sit down and speak. And the fact of being, what do you call it, unobtainable, is more so like, I feel less is more. Less talk, more action. As we always say, the fists do the talking. And also, it's like, respect is important as well. So, you know, you can never twist my words if I don't say too much. You know what you're getting when you deal with me. I'll fight anyone, anytime, any place. Bring me the best. I don't need to talk. It's not about the finances. We fought them all. People have been happy. It's not about the hype. We bring that. We do a lot of promotion of boxing anyway, so people know what they're getting with me. So I thought I don't need to do too much talking. And
Bit of context. A few years ago, I think 2016, 2017, there was a potential fight with Deontay Wilder, and he said that, oh yeah, like if you can prove that you've got £50 million, I'll go and fight Deontay Wilder. And then his words kind of got, I wouldn't say twisted, but kind of misinterpreted from what he was trying to say, because the offer that did come in was like an email or message from Deontay Wilder's personal account saying, all right, I'll give £50 million, but you have to publicly agree now. And he said, okay, yeah, but show us proof of funds and send us a contract, etc. And that's when they didn't want to do it, to my understanding. And it made AJ at that time look really bad, look like he didn't want the Deontay Wilder fight, and hence why he didn't want to do a lot of interviews. But let's keep it moving.
And let other people do the work as well. Let other people have a chance to be in the limelight. I don't always need to be in front of the camera unless it's needed. And I feel like this time around, I've noticed a lot of people talk and there's questions. Is Joshua still hungry? Is he motivated? He's got 100 billion in his account. You know, is he the same geezer? And it's like all these questions, and it's like, you see me, I ain't changed. All that's happened is that I've learned. I studied a lot of boxing IQ, and I tried to adapt my style to become more of an intelligent, slick boxer, which is when I look at the greats and the boxing icons and analysts of the sport, the sweet science of boxing is hit and don't get hit. But that style does not change someone's heart and passion towards their craft, no way. But it's just their IQ tries to get better. But sometimes trying to improve your IQ and indoctrinating your raw talent to try and make it perfect ain't always going to happen in a fight, because there's sometimes you just got to dive in and smash this fucker up. It don't matter how you do it. Hit him to the hip, throw him on the floor, let the ref tell you off. It's a fight at the end of the day. The ref's there to get
I'm liking what I'm hearing. Let's go.
involved. So I tried to doctrinate boxing and try and become smart, because I realised at a young age and early stage in my career, I started seeing I'm fighting the best back to back. I weren't taking on warm-up fights, interim fights. It was like back to back, champion after champion, and then I started realising I need to get better if I'm going to last at this level, because you don't always want to fight with your heart and fire as a heavyweight. I ain't going to have a brain cell left when I'm done. You know what I mean? If I'm getting smashed in my face every time, bang, 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 and I'm going to war every time, before you know it, my reflexes are gone, my power's gone, my speech is gone. So I started trying to be smart. That's hit, lay back, counter, roll, counter. But ultimately, I think after going through that experience where time hasn't been wasted, I feel what I've learned from my last fight is it's important to have that boxing IQ, but in a fight, it's a spirit that you can't switch off. You have to have that fighter spirit. This is not just boxing. You can't. That's the amateur system, because it's 3 rounds. But over a 12-round fight, I have to go back to that spirit that I have deep within me. You know what I mean? And not focus so much on the boxing IQ.
How did the feeling after your loss to Alexander Usyk compare to your first defeat of your career against Andy Ruiz?
Great
How did
question.
I'm on about the initial moments after the fight, the realisation that you haven't won this fight. How did it compare, the feelings, almost kind of 2 years in between?
So, what one? You asked me about Alexander Usyk first, or do you want me to reference the Ruiz one first?
You can just reference how you want to reference.
We'll go from the first one. Ruiz, for me, like, change of opponent last minute. He had just come off of beating Alexandra. What's the guy's name? It was some tall guy. He boxed outdoors. Yeah, he'd boxed someone outdoors in America. He was ready. I was supposed to box Miller. Big pharmacy Miller. He just got banned for taking every substance in the pharmacy market, and I was looking for a replacement. Realistically, at top level, you should kind of be like, look, we need another 10 weeks to prepare for this type of fight. But no, it was fine. Whatever, bring him on. But it was interesting because I found out certain pieces of information after the fight, 2 weeks after the fight, as to why certain things were going the way they were going. And it gave me reason.
Talk to me.
So what people call excuses, I could have been like, my baby toe was hurting.
David Hayes.
Ruiz had, machine gun bullets in his gloves. Whatever excuse I could have thought of at the time, I could have come up with, but I felt like I had reason. But I handled it myself. Like every day I woke up, I look myself in the fucking mirror and I look at myself and I think, this is where I fucked up. I should have fucking known this, and this is where I got to get it right.
Everyone made excuses for you in that first fight, didn't they? Everyone come up with a load of excuses. Why?
But why? Tell me why. Because you could see certain things on that ring walk weren't right. There were certain things.
We could see it, watching it, yes, but I suppose if you'd won the fight, do those things get picked up on? I don't know. Because
I think people, yeah. But now, even though I lost, they don't get picked up on. They feel as if... I've learned excuses ain't a bad thing, because it kind of muddies the water a bit. It puts some doubt.
No. I bloody knew it, bruv. I knew it. At that time, I was watching it and I was just like, nah, AD don't seem right here. Something don't seem right. Yeah, something seems fishy. But mate, I thought it was just me at that time. And then listening to a couple of other people, you thought the same, but let's crack on.
In people's heads, like I feel Fury in his trilogy with Wilder, the second fight was a phenomenal performance in my opinion. That's the one that people should have been ranting and raving about, because he took away the other man's strengths and annihilated him in 7 rounds. But because of the excuses, it kind of muddied that.
yeah, put an element of a seed of doubt into people's minds that if one of Deontay Wilder's reasons why he lost the fight was true, hold on a minute, what if that was true, or what if this was
It takes
true?
away from Fury's credibility. As hang on a minute, he just went in there and obliterated him. But there is history of Fury with gloves anyway, so you can kind of, it puts the doubt in their head. So it was a great reason. I'm sure Wilder still got his reasons. I'm not doubting him, but I'm giving an example as to why excuses ain't bad. But then the third fight came along, and even though Fury won, because there was no doubt anymore, it was like, so for me, I learned, after that fight, I learned that I knew, don't make excuses. I'm going to hold this like a man, and I'm going to dust
I like what I'm hearing. I swear to God, I hope this is getting better. Let's crack on.
myself off. And I remember certain fighters, top fighters, you know, with heart and guts and glory, like, you know, Joshua shouldn't go into the rematch. I'm like, what type of advice is that? You tell a fucker that's at war, you better go out there, dust yourself off and go back to war. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There's a man telling me, don't go out to war again, champ. Go back to the training. I'm like, what? Is it?
That sounds like Lennox Lewis. I swear to God.
It's the type of people that I used to idolize, trying to tell me not to go into a fight. What type of hearts have they got?
Lennox.
So anyway,
That's Lennox.
that's when I start losing respect for a lot of people in the industry.
That's Lennox. That's Lennox.
It's crazy. So anyway,
100%.
I just went out there, got myself together, and as I said, like, I wanted to start adapting my style, boxing, because a lot of these other people that I used to listen, that's when I used to listen to a lot of them. He's too big, too muscular, oxygen, he can't box 12 rounds. So I say, you think I can't box? I'll show you I can box 12 rounds and not get hit. It may not be the fan-friendly style, but it needed to show a different element to my game. And I did that, and that was fine. But as I said, looking back, there were certain things I felt within myself as to why I lost. And then with Usyk, it felt like my first loss, because in my head, it wasn't about, I didn't find anything out after. It was just all about self-accountability, man. For me, it was just self-accountability. And look, and this is another reason why I wanted to sit down with you, is because you don't hear from me, and I may not be effing and blinding on Insta stories and stuff like that. It don't mean that I stomach losses. I don't stomach losses and be like, yeah, you know, I'm all right, guys, yeah. I took the loss, I'll be back, guys, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to go down Novikov this weekend and have a little drink, and yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Fuck that. Mate, I was on the next plane to the States, spoke to all my team. We've had some awkward conversations within the camp. I ain't got a big team. Benga, Ben, King, Cena, Naz. Like, they're my 5 guys. Besides the training team, that's like Rob's element, physios, they manage all that stuff. But my core boxing team, then I've got my commercial guys, but my boxing team, everyone's had to be checked, and we've had some open convos, and I'm not gonna lie, it hurts, bro. It hurts. Like, especially when you've got a winner's mentality. You know what I mean? The only thing that keeps me going, not the only, but one of the things that keep me going, I remember as an amateur when I lost. And I just remember, if I would have given up then, I would have never been in this position now. And that's why I keep on firing and fighting and stay motivated, because I know from experience and track record, my mindset and my evaluation of losses and how I use them, it can catapult me to the next level.
Let's come on to the Usyk fight. And when I'm talking to you now, I don't mean this any way disrespectfully whatsoever. So, but I'll ask you a question how we think as fans, yeah? Okay. As fans, sometimes we're a bit like... You're a fan, yeah? I'm a fan, of course I'm a fan, but... Do you want anything signed? We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, go on.
It seemed, and I use the word seemed quite importantly in what I'm about to say, it seemed quite obvious what you had to do from our perspective to beat someone like Alexander Usyk.
So that's where I felt like, what was it? Go in there and be like, go in there and just bully the man, yeah?
Bully him, use your size, your strength, your power, use those tactics.
But ain't that the things that were going against me as a heavyweight? That's all he's got, size. So I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to shark on. I'm a 12-round fighter. When I looked at the other fight a couple of weeks later, you saw that after 2 rounds, 3 rounds, the energy was depleted. Do you know what I mean? And it's not really what I thought was the right way of boxing. So I start working on different elements of my boxing. Boxing the same as round 1, trying to box the same in round 12, trying to learn how to slip shots, roll shots a bit better, etc. So the obvious thing was to go out there and use a lot of my natural ability. But as I said, after a while in my career, I started thinking I wanted to scrap what I can naturally do and improve certain areas that I was weaker on. And in a way, as I said, it's definitely not lost time. I learned different things, the importance of the jab. Why is the jab the most important punch in the book? The importance of the push away, the importance of the feint, the difference between counter punching and counter attacking. I just indulged myself and immersed myself in the sweet science of boxing. But yeah, with that fight, it's clear to see styles do make.
Counter punching is when somebody throws a shot, you slip it, bang. Counter attacking is when somebody's on the aggressive side, and instead of once you slip the shot or you parry the shot, you move out of the way, or whichever way you use to defend the shot, you then form a calculated attack as opposed to just one strike or one set of combination punches. You form a whole series of attack where you're on the offensive side. But let's keep it moving. I could be wrong.
Fights and I adopted the wrong style. Not saying that the next fight I'm going to go out there and swing like a madman, but I have certain strengths that will cause him and I think a lot of other people a lot of problems. But knowing that I can do the both if I need to. If I need to go out there and box a good fight, I can do that. If I need to go out there and adapt a bit more of an aggressive style, I can do that. So merging them together, moving forward, I think, I know for a fact will be better than what I once knew. I think I've learned a lot more and I'm better than what I once was.
In layman's terms, was your plan to outbox the boxer?
In layman's terms, you would have to ask the team what their plan was. Because I'm a product of what I get taught in the gym. And mate, I could probably do a better interview than you after a month behind the camera.
Hold your horses, mate.
I'm joking, but what I mean is because I like to soak up information. I'm a sponge. I'm a fast learner in that sense. So if you feed me with the right information, I could just soak it up. So you have to ask the team what their plan was. As I said, I've got the right team around me and they're just feeding me with information. And in my head, what it was is, in the fight, should I have gone, boom, this ain't working? But I felt like I didn't have any indication to know it weren't working because I'm touching him constantly. I know the jab went like a boom, 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 right hand, big right hand following up with the left hook. It wasn't that type of fight, but there was balances, and I think in the later second half of the fight, i.e. round 9, 10, the fight ran away from me when my eye blew up and stuff like that. But I didn't. It's so different when you're in there. You're touching them, you're thinking, all right, I'm still in this. But yeah, I wasn't in it. I lost the fight unanimously or whatever they call it. I've never really been into the scores and stuff. I just wanted to go out there early on and just knock them out. So I've never really been into the scores, but I lost the fight and it was...
That's alarming. Hopefully he just saying that. Hopefully he does know about scores and scoring in general and what it takes to win a round. He should know, man. Come on, man. He's Joseph Floyd. He's the king of that. Let's keep it moving.
It was a great lesson as to why me and my core team have spoken to make other people in the team accountable, to make me a complete better assassin when it comes to boxing. I'm done with fucking losing. I'm done with trying to learn the boxing sweet science. I've just putting it all together now and rolling with it. If you like it, come watch. If you don't watch. But whether the ref likes my style or not, he might get thrown on the floor in the next fight because this is war, innit? Boxing is good, but when it comes to 12-round championship fights, it's mad. I'm heading into my 12th world title fight now, and the learning's done. Like, it's war. It's just straight war. I'm annoyed. I'm boiling up. Like, even speaking about it, I start firing up a bit because it's that passion to win, and I love it. I love a challenge.
Anthony, what was Rob and the team's thoughts about your approach to this fight? I'm assuming that when you say speak to the team, that you're in agreement that that's going to be your approach to fighting Alexander Usyk. So you must have all been comfortable with that game plan going into that fight as a team?
You got to speak to the team. But for me, in my own head, now Rob will listen to this, a load of people will listen to it. You know, Joby, Angel, nutritionist, whatever, will listen to it. Like, it's beast, it's just war. It's war.
What was you talking to Clifton Mitchell about? That's what everyone was asking. Because there was a conversation that we saw you having, not we heard, but, or I didn't hear, but you talking to Clifton Mitchell moments before that fight. What was the kind of, well, the answer to behind that?
Just like I said, I think he's done a lot of fights. He's probably at the belly fight, and I was like, what do you think, Clifton? What do you think of this fella?
But why moments before you're going into a fight?
Subconsciously, maybe as a sponge, just needed to maybe get more information, maybe ask him about the game plan that the team were trying to get through to me and stuff like that, or the team should have got through to me. You know what I mean? So maybe subconsciously I'm searching for that little bit more information. You know, consciously I'm there, I'm in the ring. It feels normal. I feel very comfortable in the ring, you know. But yeah, subconsciously I'm asking him for certain things.
Is it a case of if he offered you 0.5% of knowledge that you could use into that fight?
The conversation, Clifton had nothing to do with the win or the loss.
No, I'm just wondering because we're talking about your ring walk to the Ruiz fight.
Probably subconsciously, I was probably searching for that little bit more information because I want to win. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is. Subconsciously, I was drawn towards Clifton because I thought, yeah, he's seen it up close 3 or 4 times. So let me ask this geezer. But before, as you said, like, nah, let me not get into that. But yeah, that's probably the reason why.
Do you regret the approach now?
Cougs, you can't have any regrets in life, Muka. You know why? Because regrets keep you down, keep you in the dumps. Mm-hmm. And that's not where anyone wants to be. It's too much mental fatigue and mental pressure, mate. It will ruin you. And I'm too young, too vibrant, too positive to have that kind of regret in my life. If I can use this as fuel, if I can use this to learn from, if I can use this, I know I can take it and whatever this may be. Let's say I packed up boxing today. I could use this as an experience to go out there and teach young kids how to deal with losses, how to deal with wins, etc. So I have to use this to my advantage, basically. And I have no regrets on the situation. As annoying as it is, as pissed off as I am, I can't say I regret it, but I can say I know within myself I should have and I could do a lot more. And I think that's what baffles a lot of people is like, what's this geezer doing? You see what I'm saying? Like, I've seen this guy, like, but you know what baffles me is that I really get the credit when I lose. When I'm winning, I don't really get the ratings. Like, you know, I fucking fought everyone. Like, I want to fight everyone because I know how important it is for heavyweight boxing. And I knew how important it is for British boxing as well, especially because we never used to get look-ins as heavyweights. Everyone used to disrespect British heavyweights. The streets, from the street knowledge to the heart we have, to our approach, you know, European-style boxing, they never respected. And I said, you know what? Fuck everywhere else. I'm going to represent Great Britain to the fullest and bring big-time boxing back to Great Britain.
That's what I'm
And I worked hard at that.
about.
And it was like I always get hate from day one. Josh, remember back in the day, Josh was fake. Do you remember, like, from like my first few press conferences, was it Gary Cornish times? People have been onto me from back then. So only until I lose, people are starting, they're like, why did he lose to him? He's a good fighter. Like, when I went to the States, it's only then I realized that people actually view me as a half-decent fighter, you know, and it's just an interesting demographic of how people view me once I took an L versus how they view me when I'm on top of the world. But it's humbling, and I use that as fuel now. You know, I've got talent, just got to mix it all together, mix that raw fire that I've got in me with the talent I've learned over the last X amount of years and merge them together and just go out there and win. Because if I win the next fight, it's not forgotten about, but victory's sweet. You know, there's no revenge like victory.
Are we naive enough to think that you can only win the rematch one way? Is it that obvious where...
Two ways.
Okay.
There's 2 ways. Remember, Usyk was a heavyweight from the WSB time, dropped down to cruiserweight, made the cruiserweight weight, probably realised he's probably smaller. He's one of the smaller heavyweights at the time, and he's built himself up. So he's seen, and he's had like 400 amateur fights. He's seen people that have tried to rough him up millions of times. So to just adapt one style is silly. But for me, I have one thing in my mind. That's war. That's murder. That's war. That's go out there and hurt the guy and take his soul to the point he wants to give up. That's what boxing's about. I've learned that. You hit people constantly and you keep on applying a certain amount of pressure, and before they know it, they'll realise you aren't going anywhere. You're here to stay. So with the game plan, that's all I have in my mind at the minute is that one track. Stay on course. Take this guy to places that you don't want to go. And the game plan for the coaches, let them come up with it. I ain't got time to be sitting there studying this guy a million times and looking at every tape and analysing. Let the coaches feed me with that information. I'm a product of the environment I place myself in. If my coach tells me box on the back foot, I can box on the back foot. And if I'm inspiring and they're saying, stop moving forward, what are you doing? Get back on your back foot. A fighter will tend to box more on their back foot. Look at the changes Wilder made. Look at the changes Fury made. You're a product of your environment, whoever's teaching you. But the mindset is something that I control. So all I know is that with my mindset, it's just not on this like, you know, it's important to have, but I'm not on this jab, sit back, counter, hit, don't get hit, slip there. It is boxing, but it's at heavyweight boxing, it's war as well. There is no hit and not get hit. You've got to sometimes walk through punches.
Okay. You were recently out in America. Nice hat, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Cheers. I like the saying.
I want this hat.
No
man.
boxing, no
I want that
life.
hat, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Interesting
the way
choice of hat.
Just want to announce my new trainer.
Right, let's get to it. Right. Everyone believes, I say everyone, in boxing believe that you were out in America looking specifically for a new trainer. Can you address that? And I know you're not, you know that that's what people believe that you were doing out in the US.
Oh, you're funny, you know. Fucking hell. With the new training situation, it's funny because for 11 years.
Let's go. Hopefully, bruv, I can't find my strap, man. That's what's annoying. Hold on. I can't find it somewhere, man. I need this strap, man. Ah, bruv. Oh, armed police, if you're watching. When I mean strap, I'm talking about a toy gun, yeah? Please, don't come to my house. Allow it, man. Anyway, let's go.
2000, so 11 years, going on 12. 2010 actually is when I got taken up to Sheffield. And I've been in Sheffield from the age of 19 till the age of 32. And the only two people I've really worked with in my boxing is Sean Murphy, you know, John Oliver, the Finchley boxing coaches, Gary, all these guys from Finchley Boxing Club, and Rob McCracken, Paul Walmsley, Dave Alloway, Rich. That's the setup. I've worked with Finchley and GB Boxing. They're the two setups I've worked with. And in those setups, they have like a few individual coaches. But Sean Murphy was my guy that I worked with. Rob McCracken was my guy that I worked with. And I just looked at myself and I said, I need to get out of this comfort zone. You know, we bring in international sparring partners and I have good, tough sparring, but teachings, because when I spar them, I'm only getting information from Rob. So if he told me, box this way, box that way, I'll do it, because that's his way of teaching. So what I learned, I said, Rob, look, I've got to go out there and I've got to find a new coach to work with and learn from as well. You know, I'm not basing myself in the States. I'm a UK resident. I'm not living out in the States. So to find a new coach must mean I train, you know, 11 months, 10 months of the year. So for me, I'm not going out to the States to live and find a new coach. I might go out there I'm probably going to shoot out there again and do some training. Rob's in Lithuania or something like that, or Siberia. So I've got to find other ways to keep myself busy. That's why I work with Angel. That's why I work with Joby. because I looked at it and I needed to create an environment where I can continue progressing as a fighter and learning new teachings. Joby's got a great philosophy, the loose and heavy 70s style, rhythm and flow, back foot balance. Angel's got the great reaction, repetitions training, angles, punching off the line. Rob's got the experience to get me ready for a 12-round fight. So I looked at how I could create a team, but still have Rob as the Alex Ferguson, the gaffer. And in all honesty, they're still trying to make that relationship work. So what I want to do is step away, let these guys sort out whatever they need to sort out. And I need to go and get some new teachings from guys that have trained. You know, Robert Garcia trained, 13, 14 world champions. That experience, when I spoke to him and he told me certain piece of information, I'm thinking, fucking hell, that takes some experience. Like, it comes from his dad as well. His dad taught him. And I think, you know, one of the old school Mexican coaches, is it Nachos Berenstein, taught him. And it goes down. So they've got so many generations of teachings. Virgil Hunter trained Andre Ward, you know, phenomenal fighter. So he's taught him a lot. Andre Berto he's worked with. Boatsi was out there, so I went to see Boatsi. He's training Tony Yoka at the minute, another heavyweight.
Okay. 2016
Olympic gold medalist. So I wanted to go around and be in an environment of fighters. Eddie Reynoso, no boxing, no life. I love that saying. Canelo's obviously a phenomenal fighter. Work on some good things. I watch him spar 12 rounds, ask certain questions. Ronnie Shields, you know, another African-American coach who has worked with the greats, been mentored by Lou Duva, Georgie Benton, worked with some great fighters along their way in their career. Listen, I don't need anyone that's going to make me. I'm a fucking winner, bro. I got myself to the championship. This is my 12th championship fight. I just need to keep on learning. It's no good for me to go and sit on a beach in Africa or the Caribbean or Dubai right now. You know, I need to get out and put myself back in the gym and continue to learn.
Was Rob happy about you going out and doing that in America and talking to all those coaches? Was that a mutual decision, or was it something that you told Rob you was going to do, but ultimately
he's the
did you
boss,
kind of go there with his
gaffer.
Not consent but blessing?
As a man, I have to do what's right for me.
That's what I'm saying.
I speak to Rob about it, and Rob, as a man, agrees that if that's good for you, champ, you do what you got to do. Rob's not a controlling type of person. He's very laid back, and he's happy to see the progression of what's needed. Rob was once a fighter as well. Rob took himself to America. He fought out there for 3 years. So he gets that transition. Do you know what I mean? And it's only right at this stage in my career that I do it as well. Hindsight, do I have any regrets? Maybe. I wish I would have done these things sooner. But I've done it now, and I think it's only going to add to my game. But as I said, no one can make me. None of these trainers, in my humble opinion, with all due respect, no one can make you. Do you know what I mean? But it's what you take from it. It's your application from what you get in that environment. So I'm just taking myself to a new environment, listen to new things and apply them. And that's why I want to spend more time in more boxing gyms. I've had everyone message me, you know, yo, I can train you, champ. But it's going to cost you $1 million. But I can train you, champ.
I'll give it a go for $1 million.
Like, leave. I'm not an idiot with my money, you know. I'm not a fool with my money and stuff like that. So it's not about the money. And it's not about the hype or nothing like that. It's not about anything. I just want to go out there and just learn, put my name on the map, just continue to dominate boxing. With a loss or without a loss, I'm still here to dominate. As I said, it's still a mentality that you have to keep. And even though people may lose in life, never get disheartened and continue to keep a winner's mentality. Because the minute you lose that and you accept defeat, you're going to lose in life ever from that point on.
Let me just take from what you just said, and you tell me if I'm incorrect or not. So the objective of your visit to America wasn't specifically to go and find a new trainer. It was to go and gain knowledge and experience from people like Virgil Hunter, Reynoso, Ronnie Shields. But that was the objective, was to go there as a learning curve, and you may revisit that, which you said you are.
Then you narrow it down, because I can't, you know, in 10 days I traveled to 4 to 5 different places. It was draining. But what you want to do, you want to narrow it down and realize who you want to learn from. And that's all it is. And then for the next 6 months, I might learn from you know, a Reynoso. I might learn from a Garcia. I might learn from a Hunter. And then I might speak to them and tell them, do you mind if I come and work with you for 6 months and learn? Now, you know what, champ, I want to take you on full time. That ain't going to work for me training you for 6 months. Then we come to, we agree or we do you know what I'm trying to say? There is, what I've learned, loyalty is good, but sometimes being too loyal can be at your own detriment. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And when it comes to loyalty, it's all about loyalty and respect in my world. And where we've come from, me, my friends, even like the commitment to work. It's about being loyal to the game and respecting what you do. And my word is everything. So if I tell you I'm training with you, like that's me fully, but learning from that situation, just because I say I'm going to train with you, let's break it down what that means. That might mean for a month. That might mean for 2 months. Because I'm training with you, that might not mean 10% of a fee. That might mean, do you know what I'm trying to say? So people go out of their heads what they think it means, and we have an open discussion. And it makes you accountable for what you're doing and me accountable for what I'm doing. So there's no expectations.
A good negotiation tool. Look, I'm not a boxer, but hey, I'm going to give my input on how you should work this. Okay? Just get a trainer. Give them a set fee. Okay? And tell them that if you help me beat Alexander Usyk, I'm going to chuck 2 million on top of that. Let's go. If I beat Alexander Usyk, I'm going to put 2 million on top of that, your fee. Or whatever figure you come to in terms of. If you don't, you go away with the basic fee of like 100k aside. That commission only, winning only, nothing up front. But let's go.
And that's what we're going for at the minute in our training camp. There's no expectations. It's all about accountability.
If we're to assume that the rematch will be in 5 to 6 months' time, and I know you can't tell me what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in 6 months' time, but as it stands today, for your next fight with Alexander Usyk, will, as far as you're concerned, today, as we sit here today on Tuesday, will Rob McCracken be your head trainer in that Alexander Usyk rematch?
Great question. Yeah, and he has to speak to the people that I may want to work with and see if he can work with them. So remember when I said about speaking with the coaches and saying, I want to work with you for 6 months. I have the same conversation with Rob. Rob, I want to work with you, but I also want to work with this guy for 6 months. And it's just Rob might tell me, you know what, champ, this ain't working for me. You know, for the next 6 months, you do your thing with him and come and see me after. It's mature conversations. There's no love lost in this boxing thing. My life, my health is on the line. I can't do this to make someone happy. I'm past that stage, bro. I'm a grown man that's taken some beatings. Like, people only see the fight, but it's the sparring, the running around, selling boxing every day of the week, commercial work. It takes a lot. It ain't just being a champion, it's the responsibilities of being a champion, and it takes a lot. So for me now, I'm at a stage where it's like, no love lost, let's just do, like, I've got to do what's right for me, and you've got to do what's right for you, and we have a great conversation, and we respect each other for our decisions. So yeah, Rob can be head gaffer, head coach, which I always respect him for. Sean as well, I speak to Sean, he's one of my head guys in my team. He gives me a lot of advice. John Oliver as well is my head guy. But they all play their positions well. Now, in camp, it's how close the team want to work together. And if they don't want to work together, but I see it's going to benefit me, then we have to address who has to go and who has to stay. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely,
It's like
absolutely.
Business. I run boxing like a business now.
Okay, I thought you did that anyway.
The outside of boxing. We would just raw, train, spar, run, heavy bag work. But in terms of like performance direction, accountability processes, film study and analytical study, performance nutrition, that type of stuff, it needs improvement, because raw talent is good, but if you want to get there, that's fine on raw talent, but if you want to stay there, you just need to tweak some things, and that's the way you improve, is continually to tweak things.
Whose time did you find more productive out of all those trainers you went to see?
I spent 2 days with all of them. So in terms of the amount of time I spent with them,
Did anyone else give you a hat that you're wearing though?
Actually didn't, to be fair. Actually didn't. Do you know, I like the saying though, no boxing, no life. I like the saying, like, that's the way it is, man.
So equal time, but did you come away from any one of those trainers, Reynoso or Hunter or Shields, where you thought, do you know what, there's something more I learnt from that 2 days as opposed to anyone else?
Not necessarily, because they're all experienced. The only thing that I could take away from it is the culture. Like Mexican style and African Caribbean style. I'm an African Caribbean fighter, so like Ronnie Shields and Virgil, there's that father figure element. Do you know what I mean? And let's say the language barrier. That's the only thing I could take from the two. Where I got more from one is the cultural acceptance versus another. But in terms of experience and what they know about boxing, inseparable. In America, they got some top trainers, and I feel because of what I said about Robert Garcia learning from his dad and his dad learning from the Mexican greats, Virgil Hunter, you know, training Andre Ward, he may not have learned from someone else. I'm not too sure if he's boxed before, but he studies the game. He is an architect and an engineer.
That is so true. Virgil Hunter is very knowledgeable on the sport. I can confirm that as well.
Access and
Engineer when it comes to the science of boxing, and he filters that into his fighters. Phenomenal gym setup as well.
Right, apologies, my memory card was full up, so we're just picking this up. You were talking about kind of the different trainers that you'd gone to visit, and I think you were coming on to, I believe, Eddie Reynoso.
Yeah, so talking about Eddie Reynoso, we spoke about Garcia, where he learnt from the experience that he had, Virgil Hunter, and the experience he has as a coach with Andre Ward from the Olympics to the pros, and Eddie Reynoso, you know, he's been with Canelo. And what I learned is that a lot of guys in America, they go out to Mexico sometimes to fight, and it's not even added to their record. So, you know, young fighters in Great Britain and Europe, when you're fighting Mexican fighters, remember, they're very experienced. So they go out to Mexico sometimes and they fight 15, 20 professional fights, and then they come back to the States and their record's still 0-0. So when you go and fight these guys, they cause a lot of upsets due to the amount of experience they've had. True. So Canelo kind of has been with Reynoso, and he's had about 50 fights, maybe more. Yeah. Turned professional at what, 18? 16. Maybe younger, maybe. But what I'm trying to say is that they've had so much time underground to learn. We kind of learned about Canelo. Obviously, he's been hungry and passionate, but the mainstream, where he's been able to nurture his talents, and even as a coach, Eddie Reynoso has been able to nurture his coaching skills. When did I learn about Canelo? Maybe, Trout? When he fought Trout and these guys? Which is probably maybe, how many fights? 15 fights ago? Probably about that. 15, 20 fights ago. So he's had a lot of experience with Canelo. When he lost to Mayweather, you know, everyone was saying that Eddie Reynoso, they should get rid of him. He's not good, he's too young. But because they had that history of learning and progressing as fighters, he's come a long way. And as I said, he's from that Mexican background where they've had great coaches, so they can learn from these guys. Ronnie Shields, he was mentored by Lou Duva, who worked with Whitaker, he worked with Holyfield. Who else did he work with, Duva? Probably have to do some more research, but he's worked with, and he's been around the greats, let's just say it that way. He's been around the greats. George Benton, I've seen a picture of them all together. He said that, yeah, he was mentored by these guys. He's worked with Mark Breland, been in the same boxing system as Mark Breland, Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard. He's been around, Ronnie Shields has been around so many great fighters, ones that I look up to. He's actually trained them. So to even be in that environment, like when I'm speaking to him, you know, you've got to speak to a man like that and let him know that I'm as serious as those guys were. When it comes to my training coach, I want it just as bad as these guys. And that's the environment I wanted to place myself in. So, yeah, it's been a good experience. And rather than telling Rob, you ain't going to get hold of me for 2 weeks, so I'm just going to go sit in Antigua and turn my phone off. It was like, Rob, I'm going out to the boxing gym. So really, that's much better for me. Do you know what I mean? That's something that any coach or any mate should be saying. Where you going, bro? Get yourself in the fucking gym and go and learn something. What do you fucking mean you're going out on the beach? That's the type of people I've got around me. And, you know, the boxing team come around me. Ben, some of the other boys, Jab, Naz, and Sina. an Angel actually, he helped me with some training while I was there. Came out to the States and we just used our ears, eyes. I've done some training and we took so much information back to the UK. Like the last thing, like Usyk and that he's been in Garcia's camp and stuff like that. So they've watched him train. They know what he's about and stuff like that. So it's good to have that insight and experience of someone that's seen these guys, and it was good to get the respect. You know, I'm not gonna blow my own trumpet or anything like that, but they're like, maybe they're selling it to me, but they were like, champ, like I think you're the best heavyweight. You've got the full set. Like, why are you losing to this guy? You know, and I'm not gonna start pulling out my notepad like, well, point A says why I lost is because this, that. I'm not gonna start doing that, but I have my reasons. But they're in the past, and I'm here to learn and use that as fuel to get me through the next stage of my boxing career.
What did you and Canelo talk about?
The
importance of feints.
Okay.
And the importance of feints, repetition. And I just watched him spar. I went to Reynoso's house the day before, and I spoke to Eddie Reynoso for a long duration of time. He has a translator there, a good guy who done a lot of translation. So I spoke to Eddie Reynoso more. Then the next day, I went to watch Canelo train. So it wasn't so much like he's in training camp. Do you know what I'm trying to say? We had a brief conversation.
Just enough time to give you a hat and that was it. Say hello.
I got a few hats, you know. A black and gold one, this one, got a load more. Boys took a few hats. I like it. No boxing, no life. It's real. If you know what this shit's about, you know that this saying here is life. It's true. True to the core. We live it, man. We live it.
Okay, I've got two questions in one that you can kind of answer together.
No, just give me in two because I'll end up waffling and not remember.
Okay. Were you impressed by Tyson Fury's win over Wilder, the third fight we're talking about? I know you've addressed the second fight, but the third fight, were you impressed by his performance against Wilder?
So you don't want me to talk about the fight as a whole, we're just addressing Tyson Fury, yeah?
Tyson Fury, and then we'll talk about Wilder.
Fury done really well. For a man that was his first title defense as a champion. It just shows how tough it is being a champion, you know. It shows, you know, to stay there is going to be difficult, but he done well to come through the storm. Sugar Hill in the corner, we've got to fucking give him a round of applause. Do you know what I mean? And where did he get his experience from?
Crunk.
You see what I'm saying? It's important to go out and gain knowledge and wisdom from these guys. So that helped him a lot, that wisdom and experience, that trust. So he done a phenomenal job, great corner set up. Well done to him. First defense, WBC champion of the world, two-time heavyweight champion of the world. And it's nice for his wife, his family. His old man deserves it, do you know what I'm saying? His biggest fucking supporter. You know, I make my family proud. It's good to see him making his family proud. Well done to them. Well done.
I said Kronk, but obviously Emmanuel Stewart. Kronk. Yes, Kronk, Emmanuel Stewart, same thing.
I was looking at him, this geezer don't know his boxing, do you know what I mean?
I was like, as soon as I said it, I was like, yeah, and Emmanuel Stewart, but we put Emmanuel Stewart, obviously he's Kronk.
And Andy Lee.
Yeah. Obviously Andy Lee as well.
I rate Andy Lee highly, you know. Is he a coach?
Yes.
Yeah, I rate Andy Lee highly. You know.
And a pundit.
Yeah, and a pundit. And there's a coach that Andy Lee went and spoke to. He's in Ireland, a Cuban coach, a black guy. I don't know his name, but Andy Lee done a good interview with him. He's a good coach as well.
I know.
He taught Andy Lee some things. So yeah, Andy Lee, Sugar Hill, done a phenomenal job with Tyson in that third fight.
What did you think about Tyson Fury's offer to train you for the rematch? What was going on through your head when you saw that?
Yeah, lovely, mate. If he if he takes no money for it, I don't know if he's after a quid or two.
He said he'd do it for free, I think.
Yeah, mate. Kobo, he's more than welcome to come through the doors. No, he can even spar with me as well. You know what I mean? Like, I need a coach that's lived it, breathed it, so it'll be perfect. That'll be the easiest way to get him in the ring. I'll set up a camera. Eddie will be there as well with a few cameras running it on Facebook or YouTube. But honestly, I'm soaking in boxing knowledge. As I said, what I started seeing, I see pictures with like Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Archie Moore, Muhammad Ali, all sitting together. Like, they'll be in each other's training camps. And I feel like I've been tucked away, not locked away, but I feel like I've been tucked away a lot. mate, come into my training camp. Like, come and see what the heavyweight champion gets up to. It's great. It's great. Heavyweight boxing's thriving. So for me, if Tyson can come and watch me train, 100%. Sparring ain't fighting, is it? Do you know what I mean? So you can definitely come and he's more than welcome to step into the gym.
Wow,
and
okay.
give me some tips and shit like that. 'Cause I ain't fighting him next anyway, so he ain't got nothing to worry about. You know? Like, he sees it's difficult fighting southpaws. Otto Wallin gave him certain problems in the fight.
Bruv.
You know, Usyk gave me certain problems in the fight. They're tricky.
Quick story, right? I got my lip busted. My nose was running blood. Yeah, all by southpaw. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna summarize it very quickly. Yeah, I'll talk about it in great detail. But fam, I was in sparring one time, and I couldn't get the angles on somebody. I was like, what the flip? Like this guy. Like, often when you jab, and I've got like, I don't know whether you guys can see, but I've got like long arms for somebody my size. I'm not like bloody humongous, but I happen to have very long arms. So my often way of getting somebody away from me is literally sticking them on the jab. And this guy was a bit shorter than me, shorter arms. But yeah, I was jabbing him. But he kept on coming away from my view. And of course, when you've got big head guards in, it's very easy to get away from somebody's view. But he was getting in angles where I couldn't actually jab him. And I was like, what the flip is going on? I'm jabbing him, and he's always blocking it. Like, I'm literally jabbing, and his defense was like A1. I was like, fam, something's fishy, bro. Anyway, yeah, jab. The guy stepped in, kind of cut to this angle on the left hand side of myself. Literally underneath the jab, he kind of come up with a good uppercut hook, but my arm was sort of gone. I was trying to hook him, and the guy busted my lip, yeah. And I was going. My lip has got like a taste of blood there. I started panicking, and then I started going wild. And the guy cut me off, and the same angle, uppercut, bang, straight up my nostril, left nostril, bleeding, blood everywhere, gone. I said, how the flip did this guy get me a good angles? I said, blood. Anyway, yeah. I started watching him afterwards, yeah, when my nose was bleeding, yeah, and I was like, I can't see it, but something's like, because he kept against like people who didn't know how to throw jab and nothing. He just switched to orthodox to make it a little bit more easier. So I couldn't really see it. What was going on? Anyway, went to body spar him like a couple of weeks later, and as soon as he comes to me, he switches his stance. I'm like, hold on, are you southpaw? He said, yeah. I said, no flipping wonder. I couldn't catch you. I couldn't get you at certain angles. I couldn't see you because you were coming at us from some interperipheral angles, bruv, yeah? Some perpendicular angles, yeah? And I couldn't actually get a hold of that guy. So, southpaws, they are the worst. I swear to God, they are the worst, yeah? When you jab them, like, it's easier for them to block. So, but the right hand is effective. But this spar was no right hands. So, I think when you do head sparring, some places they do no right hand. So, of course, if you can't right hand a southpaw, it's like, what can you do? Does that make sense? You could right hook to the body, left hook upstairs, or yeah, you could do it a few different Anyway, let's carry on.
Tricky customers, bro, fighting southpaws. They're good little technicians. I always think, I was doing some boxing with my little son the other day, and I was thinking, do I tell him to stand southpaw? Should I just, you know what I mean? Oh, if he wants to get into boxing, because there's not many of them, so when us orthodox fighters come up against them, it's tricky.
It's tricky.
So, yeah, it shows he's more than welcome to come in the gym due to the experience and stuff like that. And it just reminds me of the old days of boxing when they would all mix. And yeah, from his experience with fighting southpaws as well, my experience, merge it into one. I get this win. I don't know what he's going to do. If he sits tight, then hopefully we can get this undisputed fight on the road.
There could be a fight with Dillian White for Tyson Fury if when the mandatory is called.
It's annoying. Look how close he was. Me and him were to fighting. Me and Fury were supposed to fight August. Then I had to scrap that like a week before and then change and get ready for Usyk. It's annoying. There's constant changes, like chasing fights. You know, I remember after the fight with Pulev when I was like, I didn't mention his name. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember.
And it's like, you don't mention his name, you must not want it. Like, I'm ready, I'm here, sitting. I'll take the fight, but trust me, it's a hard pill to swallow when you're training for a fight and then it gets cancelled like 3-4 weeks before. It's annoying, but we're here and we'll get that fight underway another time. I'm sure it will happen.
What did you think of Bob Arum's suggestion that...
Fuck Bob Arum.
Right.
Yeah, fuck Bob Arum.
Can I just give you this...
I don't talk on people like I don't really respect.
But about you not taking that fight next,
I don't really care.
moving,
With all due respect.
stepping aside, allowing him to fight, Fury to fight Usyk, and then you fight the winner of that.
Joshua's a bottle job. He's a cherry picker. He didn't want to fight Fury. He would have kicked his ass. You know what I mean? Bob Arum, like, nah, fuck all that with all due respect. Take it how you want. You know what I mean? Take it how he wants, man. Can't talk shit about me and think that I'm going to take it easy. He talks a lot of shit every time. So, nah, I'm not interested in what Bob Arum's got to say.
Okay, fair enough. What for Wilder now, in your opinion?
I would have iced half of the motherfuckers out that he's iced out in his fights, you know. And then he come up against...
You have already.
You know, one or two good fighters, and it shows how difficult it is at the top level, you know. So yeah, good luck to him. He's trying to learn now because he's realised, he's like, fucking hell, this ain't as easy as I thought. I'm fighting elite fighters. He fought Fury, and he realised that shit, Fury's a decent fighter, you know, and he's getting the experience he needs. I'm experienced now. Been in with all styles. I've taken losses. I've had wins. I've tried to box. I've learned to fight. Taking big punches. I've tried to learn the sweet science of boxing, hit and not get hit. I can use all that experience. He's just learning that now. And he can use that, and if he does use that as fuel, he can go far for the next 4 or 5 years of his career. So good luck to him, but it just shows, you know, coming up young fighters, it's good to be protected, but don't do no cherry picking. Go out there and test yourself. Test your mettle. You know.
Is that a fight that still interests you, Wilder?
Do I have to say?
No, you don't have to say. I'm just asking because that was a
What
fight.
have you learned about me as a fighter?
That you will fight anyone, but there's politics in boxing that stops that. So sometimes fans can't see the difference between the two, which is...
If the fans can't see that, I would fight Wilder with a heartbeat, Fury with a heartbeat, and Dillon with a heartbeat, Ortiz with a heartbeat. Anyone that you mention, and I'm not mentioning other fighters because I don't want to fight them, then I don't really want to speak boxing anymore. That's one thing about me and my legacy that I always wanted to remain intact is when it's all said and done, I want them to know whether you like me or not, whether you like my style or not, you'll know that I would fight anyone in their prime, anytime, whether like they're older, younger, middle of their career. Give me a mandatory, not mandatory, one guy pulls out, another guy steps in, no problem. I'll fight anyone. I just love the game. I love fighting. It's a great challenge. And when I'm in training camp, I'm at my peak because I'm isolated from the world, living healthy, training good. That's why I love fighting as well. I like the training camp element.
Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is, if there's a reason why some of those fights don't happen, it's due to boxing politics. It's not because of your like unwillingness to fight them. I'm saying there's politics.
And would I fight Wilder? Yes, I will. Yeah? Cool. You know, certain questions that you ask get me not fired up.
I said, is Wilder a fight that still interests you? I didn't ask you. I know, but I didn't ask you whether you would fight him. I said, is it a fight that still interests you? That's how I said it.
Let him talk.
Because of like previous experiences of these conversations have been happening for the last 6 years of my life, or maybe more, it becomes a question that I've had to kind of put up with for a long time. And I said, through proving time and time again, I will take on any challenge, providing the politics aren't an issue. The finances are definitely not an issue with these guys. The exposure, everything else isn't an issue. I don't know what the issues are, but if there are any issues, it's a shame. But if not, people know what I'm about. I think Wilder, he fought Fury assuming that it was going to be an easier fight than it was in the first one, due to the fact he had like a couple warm-up fights, and he was getting ready to kind of get back to big-time boxing, and it just showed, mate. He got caught in this trilogy web that was phenomenal. He's come off in a good way, but it was a tough 3 fights for him. Tough 3 fights. And Fury, actually. He's tough on their bodies. What do you think they're going to take away from that fight, from the trilogy?
Well, I think they take very contrasting things away from it, don't they? Obviously, Fury takes away that if Wilder's regarded as one of, if not the... Oh.
1 second. The shipment is coming in and out.
I think that they take different things, don't they? It's difficult for Wilder, obviously. There's still big fights with Deontay Wilder. You put him in with a Ruiz, a Dillian, whoever. There's still big fights for him. More interesting to see where Fury goes, whether he does take that mandatory with Dillian White or not. But
I want them to add some more names to their resume. I know they feel they can beat these guys, and they'll talk as if they can, but there's nothing like a fight. And that's why we all tune in, why we love this game, because in heavyweight boxing, one bad night, one bad punch, change the landscape. So I want to see... Sorry about that. I wanna see these guys fight other fighters and bring some life to the heavyweight division, because it was lacking for a long time, and I feel it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Right, just literally 1.5 things left.
So that's 3.5 questions from the last 2 that we said.
When you hear people say that you shouldn't take the rematch, that you should have like a warm-up, when you hear people say that you should even retire after that loss, what goes through your head, if you could? There we go. What about the first one, though, that you shouldn't take that?
They ain't built like me.
What about the first one, that you shouldn't take the rematch?
That's that, and that's that. They ain't built like me. Like, honestly, how can a fight? And it's coming from fighters, yeah, because we're not talking about like the geezer that's got an opinion, that's walking down the street, that's got my best interest. Like, champ, be careful out there. Don't take the rematch. You're talking about respected fighters, yeah.
I'm talking about people within the boxing industry. Yes.
I can't deal with it. I can't. That's why I stopped doing interviews and stuff, Coogan, because I can't deal with the landscape of boxing. How are you going to tell a fighter not to fight the best? That's the best guy. You're only as good as your last performance. Usyk's God right now. I want to fight him. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. I want to fight him. If anyone out there is telling me not to fight this guy, they must not know me. They must not know me, and they must not respect where I've come from.
As an AJ fan, okay, to guarantee the win and to increase your chances in the win, I'd prefer him to have a fight in between against a southpaw slick fighter in front of the lights, and then fight Alexander Usyk. But if AJ does not do that, I'm also comfortable in that sense, if that makes sense. That's what I prefer, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that he would lose to Usyk. I think he could beat Usyk in the rematch, but I prefer AJ to have an additional fight in between against somebody framed like Usyk, or maybe if you can, if you could do that through sparring, it's pointless. But if you can fight somebody like proper, who's in the mold of Usyk, like a cruiserweight who happens to be southpaw and a slick mover, that I prefer that. But again, he could still win the rematch. So I'm not really fussed either way.
What are you thinking?
I think I knew you was going to take this rematch, and I'd have been very surprised if you can't have warm-ups. You can't have warm-ups.
And that's another thing. It's I've got so much knowledge and experience of how to guide a fighter's career now. You know, looking at mine, studying boxing, it's a tough place to be. As you mentioned, I can't have warm-ups, Coogan. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think it's in the middle, but I deal with it, and I don't want to warm up either. Even if I had the opportunity to have a warm-up, who is a warm-up for me?
Me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Little body shot there, little.
Well, a bit of banter.
Yeah, you know, I can't have warm up. So even if I wanted one, I can't. So when someone's saying that, it's shocking, and it's the mindset that baffles me the most. I would respect someone more if he goes, you know what, this is a warrior sport, and you got to put yourself on the line. You got to put yourself on the front line. He's got to get out there and dig deep. This is what we want from him. I want to see him dig deep. I want to see him put himself back in adversity, back in an uncomfortable position. He's going to ring walk first. Usyk feels like the champion right now. He's on cloud 9. I want to see how AJ deals with it. If he has regrets, he needs to get rid of them, pick himself up, get himself back in the gym. Imagine a heavyweight champion or a previous champion or former champion telling a fighter that, sitting him down saying, or he's like a previous champion saying, mate, don't take the rematch. What are you doing? Go and have a couple warm-up fights. You're looking at this guy like, is this the guy a warrior, or is he a nurse in the field? You know what I mean? How's he telling me to have a couple warm-up fights? I can't understand that mindset. Where we come from, and the mindset that's been instilled in me and like a lot of the people I'm around, that's not the mindset we live by.
Okay, finally, is this fight likely or more likely to take place in the UK? Could it venture out to someone like Saudi?
Saudi! Look,
No,
they just put Newcastle in there as well.
Well, I think there's some links to Newcastle, yes.
I'm joking, bro. I'm joking. Like,
But could it end up somewhere else? We want it in the UK,
if I'm
obviously.
honest with you, you've got to speak to the promoters, and especially my management company. They've done a great job at maximising my potential and revenue. For me, I'll fight him. I'd actually go to Ukraine if I had to.
Come on.
That was like the final option. I'll go to Ukraine. But I think as Usyk as a champion, you have to ask him, because he's probably wanting to maximise his last payday. Because I'm coming for them belts, boy. You're going to see the raft of the new champ. Different energy, different spirit. Coming to win. I tried to learn boxing, stick and move. Isolating the sweet science of the sport, doctrinating my style. But we're going back to the raw, rugged streets. That's where I belong. I never followed no athletes growing up, no movie stars. I followed the hustlers, the Rayful Edmonds, the Jeff Ports, the Nicky Barnes, the Big Meaches, the Larry Hoovers. You understand me? They're the people that gave me that inspiration, the ones that came up from the streets to the top of the world, the empires, the bangers, the hustlers. That's what's fueling me again. Sometimes in life, no matter how far you go, always remember where you came from. And I'll put it like this analogy. It's like building a phenomenal skyscraper, and after 10 years, you've got to go back and do your renovations and refurbs. Look at the nooks and the cracks in the building, and that's what I've had to do. We built a phenomenal empire, but it's time to go back to what motivated me.
Tell him, champ.
I can't wait to get back in there and give it my all. I've done the boxing sweet science. It's not wasted time, but I've got to throw it in the mix. It's not one or the other. It's all or nothing.
Anthony Joshua, thank you very much for talking to... You okay?
Let's go.
Coming for it all.
WWE style.
If you smell.
They were them days that you did them 50-minute interviews with me in Scotland, I remember. Anthony Joshua, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Let's get this rematch on and let's go, champ.
Yeah, man. Even Shannon Briggs, I respect him. He's like one of them people that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's go, champ. Where's the rematch, champ? Like,
Look
I
at
love
him,
that
yo.
shit.
Let's go.
Fighting spirit. I love it. Yeah. Let's go, TBF. What do we have? TBE before? You know, we TBF. Throwback fighters. Let that one ring bells, let it marinate. That's what we're coming with now. Throwback fighters. 2201. Second to no one. Stay hungry. Fuck being humble.
interview. Kugan. Wow, good interview from Kugan, and I liked the honesty from AJ. It seemed like it was built-in honesty. Hopefully he wins the rematch, and because I was there during the Usyk one fight. Hold on, let me just see if my programs come through. I had a program, but it got a bit trenched. Let's see if I still got the. Because I might put this up on the wall. Hopefully, we'll see. Because I lost mine, I had to get a new one. I had to order a new one. Bruv, I was there. Right? It was bad, but it was a great event. AJ could win, man. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about this interview in greater detail, but I'm grateful for Kugan and Team IFL TV to showcase this interview and bring out the honesty in Anthony Joshua. Although it takes two to tango and they can ask the questions, but I'm also grateful for AJ for being honest and open, and display the level of authenticity. I'm not saying that he hasn't in the past, but especially in this interview, it was a very humbling experience. I know he doesn't like interviews, and hopefully more of this to come. But this has been your boy Ibs from Off the Canvas Boxing. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Peace.